We have over 12,000 registered participants as of today in the Congress, and we have over 1,000 presentations of novel data. In addition to the studies that you've heard by Professor Picard, we have an additional number of studies that are going to be very likely to change the way we practice medicine. It's what we call data that is practice changing. Some of these presentations will be part of the Presidential Symposium, which is heavily loaded with phase 3 trials. These are the ultimate trials that prove or disprove that an approach is positive. In addition, we have here today some very important studies that we would like to discuss in some detail, and we are fortunate to have the principal investigators of these trials and the presenters here with us today. So we'll give them the opportunity to explain what their results are. Before I go on, though, I would like to make an emphasis on a point that has already been made by Martin Picard, and that's the need for multidisciplinary approach. And it is very clear that the advances that are occurring today in cancer is because we have the capacity to work together with multiple fields. And here we have in this, let's call it roundtable, very prominent representatives of the surgical world, Professor Eben Taylor, and then also we have Professor Vincent Gregoire from our sister society, ESTRO. So what's happening here is that we are all working together, and we are beginning to explore how to best use different approaches, sometimes together, sometimes sequentially. We are seeing some phenomenal data when we combine radiation therapy with these new targeted therapies. Surgery is making tremendous advances when we combine it with these therapies as well. So I think one theme that we like to make sure that it gets communicated in this meeting is the issue about multidisciplinary. And I think here in Europe, we are particularly well positioned to do this type of work. We have a long tradition of working together, and I think this shows very clearly in this Congress. And this is just an overall data that I wanted to say. I'd also like to, and I'm finishing, give you some metrics about the global problem that cancer represents, because sometimes we are not aware of that. And when you look at the numbers, they are really astonishing. And I think these are numbers that have to get out, and people have to become aware of the magnitude of the cancer problem. It's not a small problem, but it's well beyond what we imagine before you see the numbers. So just to use some numbers. This year, 2008, around the world, there's going to be close to 13 million new cases of cancer around the world. And close to 8 million people will die from cancer. And in addition to that, we have today 28 million people living with cancer. 28 million people living with cancer. The estimates, unfortunately, for the years to come, indicate that the problem, if anything, will get worse. We have estimates now from the year for the year 2030, and at that year, the number of new cases that is expected is in excess of 26 million new cases, and the number of deaths are going to be, we estimate, to be 17 million. And the number of people living with cancer is going to go up to over 80 million people. So the burden is tremendous, and I think that's why it's so important that we promote funding and that we promote research against cancer, because the magnitude is just too high for anybody and for any society to bear.